Hello, this is Holly Herrera. I teach sixth grade math, so I chose to create a pictograph that explained decimal place value. Although students should come to me with an understanding of decimal values, many students do not. So I wanted to help those students through the power of visuals. So in my pictograph, you can see that one of the first things I thought about was selecting my colors. I had read through the information that we were given that soft natural colors are best for the classroom. The background is soft blue, but then I chose the natural kind of dark brown to really highlight my different categories that I want the students to notice. I also use the word my in the title. It says understand my decimal numbers. I did that because in one of the videos they said that it helps if you put in the words your or my in your information. This makes the students or the person who's looking at your information personalize that information. And that's what I really want my students to do. Also, again, my frames, I really wanted them to stand out. So that's where I used there were the resources of the different fonts, such as the decimal numbers. The decimal stands out here, and the numbers is in a different font. When we move down, you can see that when I start having the students look at 1/10, 100th, and 1,000th, those really stand out. And then around them are the decimal and fractions form of that. Let's see. I also felt that I wanted this to be easy for my students to read and follow along because this pictograph would be used to reinforce something that they have already been taught, they just haven't mastered it yet. So I wanted this to be a reference that they could go back to or something that I could pull out quickly as a reminder or something that even another student can teach to a student. So here I started off with just basic decimal place values. So we really want them to understand that we've got after the decimal point, the tenths, the hundredths, and the thousands. And then of course it continues on from that. The other piece that was important to me for them to understand is again that as we move to the left, our values are getting 10 times larger, and as we move to the right, we're getting 10 times smaller. This is so important also as we move into comparing decimal numbers. So this would even be a reminder for students before I teach comparing decimal numbers. Then down below, I just had three categories that I wanted them to look at. The first one here would be 1/10. Here's the decimal form of that, here's the fraction form of it, and then here's that picture, that visual for them. I also threw in the dime, and we could talk to students about, well, if I think of a dollar as being one whole, 1/10 of that dollar is a dime. So again, another visual from the real world. Then we moved into 1/10. So now as we move further to the right of the decimal point, we can see that our value becomes smaller. Here was 1/10. Now we have 1/100th. And there's that visual. And then also the penny. We can talk about that dollar being the one whole and the penny being 1/100th. And then lastly, I did 1,000th. So again, here's my decimal form, my fraction form, and then this is really tiny, so they're going to have to take a very close look, but it's this part. So what I'm trying to really have students understand through the visual is looking at this represents 1/10. As I'm moving to the right of the decimal, now I'm at 100th. It's getting smaller. And now it's getting even smaller. So if we continued on from the thousands place, just imagine how much smaller that gets. This is also a visual I could refer back to when we're rounding. A lot of students will say, well, do I need to keep, 3 decimal places? Do I need to keep 4 decimal places? And then with this visual, we can talk about the values of those numbers and why we would want to round certain place values. And then, of course, we don't have money that represents that 1,000th, but I wanted another visual. So we have this piece here showing you that this would be 1,000th of all of that. So again, just really hitting home through the visual how small that 1,000th is. So again, I would use this pictograph for students who just really haven't mastered the idea of decimal place value yet. And I would also use it before I teach comparing decimal numbers and as a reminder before I teach rounding those decimal numbers as well. Thank you.